Yeah, so that's a slide. And yeah, our we were focusing on open defecation. And so basically, this is like a very prominent issue in like developing countries, and like especially in the areas which are like low income, like rural areas. And then um this problem itself like leads to other problems like water contamination and spread of like diseases like diarrhea and cholera. And as we were like thinking through it, we realized that there's like no one way to solve this problem. Like in order to solve this, we have to cover like multiple aspects. Like you have to spread awareness, and then we have to provide them with like sanitation facilities, and we have to foster behavioral changes within the community. And in India, in order to tackle this issue, the government of India launched a Swachh Bharat mission in like 2014, and their aim was basically to build toilets across India, and like they were giving this incentive of about like 1,200 rupees, and out of that, each household like gets that money who don't have who don't have access to toilets, and they basically like build a toilet out of it. But we realized that the money which was given was not enough, because first of all, it was not enough to create a toilet alone, and then after that you also have to like maintain it. um so we're just trying to go through after this like why it sort of failed, and we realized like these were like some of the major points uh, for its failure. The very first point was like poor maintenance. Like we also realized like even though they have the toilets, there's no proper sewage system or like a centralized sewage system for it. And then they have this behaviors, like they're into this habit of open defecating like ever since childhood, and they just it's like hard for them to like leave it. And then water scarcity was also another challenge, because a lot of these toilets like depend on like gravity, so you basically pour the water and the it basically goes down like the drain, and uh it's not properly cleaned because it's like dependent on gravity. um and then, Tushar, do you want to go through like the last 3 points?
Yeah, also we have this problem of lack of education. So the thing is like a lot of people lack information about, what happens if all those diseases spread. Like I read one article wherein, one person mentioned that the person's daughter got diarrheal diseases because of which she had to be, like in in and out of hospitals for like 2 months. And like a lot of people would say that okay, it's just, like you just have to go to the washroom and it'll be fine and stuff. So like people don't take those problems seriously. They just think it's temporary and stuff, right? Another problem is communal indifference. So a lot of people like, like for example, if a public toilet is created, people will be like, okay, why should I clean it? Why cannot my neighbor clean it, right? So there's this lack of sense of unity. And one of the most prominent ones is definitely the conservative beliefs that people hold. Like, okay, I can't have a toilet in my house, where they are got deities and stuff, right? So such beliefs are, holding people back from investing in such toilets in their house. Yeah,
Yep.
Dakshayani, go ahead.
And then we found few data like so we started with Haryana. We started like focusing on Haryana first, and we realized that out of like there are only 80 toilets for like 10 million women, which is like very less toilets, right? That doesn't sound good. And then like 10% of the children, they died due to diarrhea in 2011. And yeah, like the sanitation is like one of the major issues for it. In India, there are like 1.4 billion people, and like 800 million people of them, they lack access to safely managed sanitation. And in 2020, over 200 million people defecated openly, which is seems like a huge issue. Um, and then yeah, this was like we found out that a lot of especially girl children, they like refuse to go to schools because they don't have like the schools, they don't have like proper toilets, or like they don't even have one. And yeah, I already talked about cost of maintenance, like how the like Indian government, it provides like 12,000 rupees, and that's not enough. So that was also like a major issue. And then 1/12 of the like feces which is produced in the world is not managed properly. So that was also something which we wanted to consider as we like try to like tackle this issue. And these are again few data. We made some assumptions that you need like 20 by 20 inches of area to build a toilet, and the people who defecate openly, like they contaminate like a huge part of the land. And then this was another assumption we made, that if a person say uses a toilet for like 15 minutes, and on a daily basis if it is used for like 8 hours, 32 people could use it. And then we got data uh, that in Haryana there are like 17 wards of village, and then 10, each ward has like 10 to 15 houses which don't have toilets. So we just assumed that's like in 17 wards there could be like 170 to 255 houses, and if each house is like 3 people, then about 510 to 765 people don't have like toilets. um and yeah, this was like a table which we had, so we thought that we have to focus on maintenance so that people tend to use it more. It has to be affordable, as cost was a major issue. It has to be effective in terms of like there should be no odor, it should be clean, and it should be sustainable because water was also an issue. And then so we thought of coming up with like a vacuum assisted toilet. And yeah, so that's, do you want to continue, Tushar?
Yes, so we don't have much time, so I'll just quickly walk you through this. So there are a lot of problems, right, that we just talked about. So we thought of focusing on the primary one, which is the maintenance, because like even a lot of people mentioned that toilets are created, like the government has created millions of toilets since 2014. But the thing is, those toilets they get created, but they are abandoned because no one is maintaining them. So we thought of creating like there are multiple parts of the solution. So we'll have to first, create a flush system that sends all the toilet into some container or something so that it can get treated later on. So for this, course, we thought of focusing on the first part for the toilet to go inside a container. So what we thought of was developing a vacuum system that will pull the waste down inside a container, whatever it is. So yeah, can you go to that earlier one, Dakshayani? Yeah,
So
yeah.
just
So
like the
we
stuff as you were like brainstorming through it and you were like coming up
yeah.
with it.
So we looked at like different flush systems that are used, right? So they are pressure assisted, gravity assisted, and stuff. So we realized that the vacuum assisted ones are the ones that are really good for us. So we started brainstorming on different designs, making it compressible and stuff, so that yeah, basically that. So what we ended up with was we thought of designing a system, a flush system that would work on people's weight. So let's say a person comes and sits on the body of the toilet. As soon as they sit on it, the flush system activates. So as the person is, producing waste, the waste is getting flushed, right? And it's getting treated. And when they get up, then the flushing is done, and the next person can directly come in. So for the first part, we thought of like as soon as the person sits on it, because of the weight, the flush systems would get activated. Now, since it's vacuum assisted, so the weight of the person is used to create the negative pressure inside the toilet body, right? Yeah. So this is sort of like a rough diagram that we drew. Can you go to our next slide? Yeah. So next one, please. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we designed a very small prototype. So we have this box, and then we attached a syringe, and we have two valves. So we use unidirectional valves, such that the air from the container flows outside, like through the syringe. Like when we pull the syringe, the unidirectional valve opens up, and the air goes inside the chamber of the syringe. And when we push the piston, then the other valve it opens, and the air goes out without getting inside. So we did not have a pressure gauge, so we did not we could not quantify the change in the pressure, but we did make some observations that allowed us to know that negative pressure was created. So can you go to the next slide, please?
Also, I just want to mention that we were like,
Yeah.
so for to create this model, we definitely needed like two valves, and we were thinking of like what can we use, and then all of a sudden it came in our mind that we can use like the N95 mask. So basically, we use like the valve in there to kind of create the prototype. Yeah.
So for the valve itself, we use different materials. We tried different materials. We use banana pills, we use balloons, plastics, tapes, and stuff. So a lot of them did work. Banana pills, they work very well, but the problem is it's organic, so it just gets dried. So ultimately, we ended up with going ahead with balloon cup layers. Anyway, we made some observations, and then we realized that when we, uh, like got the system running, the container, it became rigid, right? And then there was water vapor that was getting built up, right? And it was getting hot. And then we had put a balloon inside the container, and then we checked if it was getting shrunk. And then when we, took it out, like for the first few seconds, we did realize that, it was shrunk by just zero point 0.2 centimeters. It's very, like, less, but still it was, something. So yeah, that's so it worked. Basically, the negative pressure was created, but it was very like not very efficient. Can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So we realized that some of the things that we would want to work on for the future would be um, making sure that the valves work very well. There's no leakage in there because apparently there was some leakage. And then the tube that we used, it was very thin, so we had to like pump about 300 to 400 times, just to create that negative pressure. So we want the pumps to be like the tube to be larger and to have a pressure so that we can quantify the change in pressure. Yeah. So that was the first part. We are done with it. We'll just optimize it, and then we'll build a biodigester and attach it with a filtration system that will, like the filtration system that is used in spaceships. What they do is they separate solid and liquid, and that's what we'll try to do. Separate the waste and then treat them individually, and then ultimately create a decentralized, sewage system.
Yeah,
So
like
yeah,
a lot
that's
of the
it.
ships, they have like this huge tanks in which they have the bacteria, and they basically use that bacteria to sort of, you know, process the waste. So that's what we also thought of to like include, so that since like sewage thing is like a main issue, so we can like create something which is like decentralized and that can be done. Also we would so also we like we experimented to create like the valve of the mask which was there. So we basically used these two caps and made holes, and like there's like a balloon inside. It's not like working properly, like it's not like, yeah, it's not like fully one directional, but then it's sort of working. So we'll try to improve it further, and like in like further we also want to include this biodigester thing and like filtration system in there. Yeah, and that was it.
Thank you.
Quick question. I don't know if people realize that, I mean, you've all taken flights. The inspiration is really
If
in
you like blow air
airplane.
through it one from one side, it'll like,
Vacuum is actually used and not water.
what do you call it? It'll open, and from the other side it'll
We
like
have
close.
one on Zoom. The question is, if you have a child or someone really light, could you make people physically come before?
We definitely thought about it initially, but we were like, let's focus on like, like the major pop, not,
That's a good idea.
yeah.
But you could just find I think the biggest issue with toilets in terms of maintenance is you don't have water. So this kind of, sanitizers have become really interesting in schools now, in terms of thinking about not having water, but having water to flush is a huge issue. Yeah, I love the fact that you guys actually built a prototype because that is fantastic. One of the things to also think about is all local materials, because it's a type of a project that has to be driven bottom up. So thinking a little bit about making these valves itself, that